Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Begakar Ahmed and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be speaking about Lebanon. Firstly, because I am Lebanese and what is happening there right now is super tragic and I want to talk about it. Secondly, because what is happening in Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, Iran, Israel is going to affect the whole world, and it is going to affect the whole world very soon. We can be going through an economic disaster where our dollar completely collapses because of how much money is going into these wars. We can go into World War III because the Middle East and North Africa are the most important pieces of land on the whole planet, and every single superpower is willing to fight to seize them, hold them, or have deals with them because this is the richest land on the planet. It is the land of the prophets. It is the heart of the beginning of humanity. So, of course, Northern Africa and the Middle East are insanely important land masses with insane amounts of minerals and natural resources and religious history and, just cultural history in general. And this is a place that they want to control. This is a place that they want to own. This is a place that they want to colonize. And they don't want the people who are currently there in power. It is the game of chess that has been being played for thousands of years. It's what country can colonize the most land, what country can colonize the best land, and what country can colonize and control their population the best, along with the population of the rest of the world. They're trying to put us into this world where they can systematically just control us by telling us things in the media or scaring us with fear tactics such as sicknesses, get your vaccine today, stay in your house, stay 6 feet apart, stuff like that to see if you will just listen like a good little boy. Now, we're going to need examining the Western news to go ahead and see how they're reporting about Lebanon, because what is going on there right now is tragic. Over 1,000 people are dead so far in the last 2 weeks. It's funny that when 1,000 people die in Israel from their own Israeli helicopters and gunships and get kidnapped by Hamas, how 1,000 people dead is the most tragic thing that has ever happened since the Holocaust. You know what I mean? Like 1,000 people dead is worse than 8 million people dead, 12 million people dead, probably way more than that, but like 100 million people dead because of all of World War II. Well, the whole entire world had to suffer because of that. 100 million people dead, who cares? 1,000 people who died on October the 7th last year at a music festival. That was worse than anything that ever happened in human history. That is how they portrayed it to the media. And it's really funny that if in a week they blow up 1,000 Lebanese people like it's nothing. And, who cares? We just blew up 1,000 Lebanese people to take out one of the leaders of Hezbollah. Who cares? It's damage. That's war. That's what war does. That's war. It's normal. And they make it seem normal till the death tolls 100,000, till the death tolls 500,000, till the death tolls 1 million, till the death tolls 2 million, like in Iraq. And no one cares. And it's okay. Oh, it's just okay because they had weapons of mass destruction that they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. But we killed 1 million people anyway, so it's whatever. And that's the same thing that they're going to try and do in Lebanon. It's the same thing they're going to try and do with Gaza and the West Bank. It's the same thing they're going to try and do with Iran. It's the same thing they're going to try and do with Yemen. They're going to try to eradicate and kill as many people who are willing to fight as possible and leave the people who are willing to sit and live within a faulty, broken system. Just like the United States of America. Most people here know they're living a lie. No, everything's a lie around them. No, taking loans and credit systems and everything is garbage. It's complete BS. And they continue to play the game. They continue to take interest, high interest loans, and buy things they don't have the money for, and take 30-year payments on things, and become financial slaves for the rest of their life, and work 9-to-5 jobs. People in the United States of America are okay defending the system above them, even though they know the system above them hurts them, lies to them, and controls them like a robot. And that's how it works. If you've ever watched the movie The Matrix, that's how it works. So, without further ado, we're going to need to go ahead and talk about this. What happened over the last couple of days is very, very, very important. The leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, had gone ahead and was taken out in a strike on Beirut. And we're going to go ahead and hear what the Western media has to say about all of this. So, without further ado, let's jump into it.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. News reports from northern Israel show Israeli military tanks massing along the Israel-Lebanon border after Israel launched its first attack in central Beirut. Earlier today, Israel struck a building near the busy Kola Bridge intersection of the Lebanese capital after carrying out a massive attack Friday on a Beirut suburb that assassinated Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. He led Hezbollah for more than 3 decades and was considered one of the most powerful figures in the Middle East. Israel likely used U.S.-made bombs in Friday's attack that leveled several high-rise apartment buildings. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris both called the killing of Nasrallah a, quote, measure of justice. Meanwhile, Monday's attack targeted senior figures in the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a Palestinian militant group. The strike leveled another apartment building.
We are Palestinian firefighters and rescuers from the camps in Lebanon who came to help our brothers after the raid that happened here in Ain ed-Delb. We have been here since yesterday, since the incident. We have not left the site, and we will remain here until we complete the entire mission, God willing. There are still people under the rubble, people we have not been able to rescue yet. We are doing everything we can to save them as quickly as possible.
So today, Israel killed the head of Hamas in Lebanon, along with his wife, son, and daughter, in a strike on their home in a Palestinian refugee camp.
She just made a big mistake. They did not kill the leader of Hamas. They killed the leader of Hezbollah, who's Hassan Nasrallah, and his wife, and his son, and his daughter. Okay? That's what you said. Now, when you are playing games like this, when you are a leader of a group like this, when you are the president of a country like Israel, there's a big chance that a lot of people want to kill you and want you dead. And there's a big chance that stuff like this will happen, and your family is in danger, and you're in danger, and your next generation family is in danger, and your grandpa that has passed away 20 years ago is in danger in his grave, literally. And this is because you're a world leader of some sort, and people are going to come after you because you have enemies. And you don't have normal enemies like, oh, your neighbor doesn't like you because you didn't cut your grass and your grass is too tall. No. This is like, I want to eradicate you and eradicate everyone that likes you and eradicate everyone that stands with you. And this is expected in war scenarios. This is expected when things are escalating like this. The people of Lebanon, the people who go ahead and live there, who like Hassan Nasrallah, who are upset about his death, this is something that is expected. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd expect Commander-in-Chief, head of command, to die in a situation like this. You would expect the leader who goes headfirst into these issues to die. You know, I would love to see Netanyahu die, to be completely honest with you. I know it might sound a little harsh, but the guy's evil. He's killed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of women, children, men, enslaved them, trapped them, unfairly arrested them. He's a sicko. He is a demon. He is a demon walking the earth. So there's some people who really do deserve to die, and that's one of them, Benjamin Netanyahu. And I'd be very, very, very happy to see someone like that leave this earth, to be completely honest with you. Just as many people are happy to see Hassan Nasrallah go. Even though Hassan Nasrallah is not around the world blowing things up and destroying things like Netanyahu is. Hassan Nasrallah is not blowing up men, women, and children by the tens of thousands. Like, he's not doing that. So it's very interesting to see the literal twists and turns on how they make Hamas and Hezbollah look like the worst terrorist groups on the whole entire planet, the whole entire world. But the United States can kill over 1 million people in Iraq and lie about weapons of mass destruction and fake attacks on their own buildings in New York, and, you know, kill as many people as they want around the world and do whatever they want and put sanctions on Venezuela and destroy Venezuela's whole economy and make people flee their countries and bomb them from the sky, and they can nuke Japan and take out a whole entire country's infrastructure and kill people and give them cancer for the next 4 generations. Yet it's so beautiful to see that the United States can do all of that and we don't bat an eye. But then if someone looks at the United States wrong, they're the biggest terrorists in the world, the most evil, conspired of evil demons straight from the devil. The devil is working with them. It's crazy to see how much of a terrorist organization our government is and Israel is, and how many lives they've taken off of this earth over the last 100 years or so now. And to see them pointing fingers at everyone else is a complete joke. It's a complete joke, especially when they point fingers at a lot of groups that they create. The reason that these groups exist is to resist the United States and Israel from coming into their countries, taking their countries, colonizing the whole entire country and destroying everything. That's why these groups exist to begin with. Now, when it comes to ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, the United States created those groups, paid them billions of dollars. President Biden just withdrew from Afghanistan. He left over $10 billion of equipment on the ground for the Taliban. Tanks, RPGs, homing missiles, like you name it, everything is there. Like, you ever play Call of Duty? All those kill streaks, he just left them on the ground in the middle of Afghanistan. So this is something that really, really blows my mind when I go ahead and think about the Middle East and I see all of this, and I see how they twist the idea of things on the news. It's like, who's the enemy? I mean, I guess the enemy is the person who's bombing you. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean this person's a terrorist group, he's the enemy. Because the United States and Israel are bigger terrorists than any other country on this planet. They've taken out more lives than any other country on this planet. They bomb who they want, they do what they want, and they blame everyone else. So it's very interesting to see how these people are the biggest terrorists in the world, and they paint them out to be the worst people on the whole entire planet, where I don't hear about Hezbollah killing 100 people or 300 people. No, but I hear about Israel killing 100 Palestinians every single month for the last 80 years, killing 100 people in Lebanon, killing 100 people in the West Bank, killing 100 people in Gaza, bro, you're killing people everywhere. This is what Israel does. It's literally their job, is to just slaughter and slaughter, slaughter, slaughter people and take more land, grow Israel. Look at the Israel map from 1948 when they went ahead and established their country, and look at it now. Look how it's grown and grown and grown and grown and grown, and then think about from 2020 to 2040, what they're going to do over the next 20 years and how they're trying to take more and more and more land and grow Israel more and more and more. Their jackets literally have the map of the new Israel on their jacket. Israel literally takes up half of the Middle East. It takes out Syria, it takes out Jordan, it takes out half of Saudi Arabia, it eats Yemen, it eats all of that, and that's supposed to be Israel. That's supposed to be the new Israel. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu talks about. That's what's on their jackets. They literally want to take half of the Middle East. They tell you, we want to take half of the Middle East, and then they point their fingers at Palestinians and go, they want to genocide us. They want, from the river to the sea is a genocide against Jewish people. They want all Jewish people dead. While you kill every Palestinian, while you kill every Lebanese, while you're trying to eradicate our countries, destroy our infrastructure, kill our family members so we can't reproduce anymore, then you turn around and you want to play the victim card. It's crazy to see what is happening right now. And people need to really understand what is happening and really dive into things and talk to people who know what's happening. Stop watching the news and taking a one-sided response. She just said, Hassan Nasrallah, along with his wife, son, and daughter, the leader of Hamas just died in Lebanon. She's an idiot. He is not the leader of Hamas. He is the leader of Hezbollah. Not anymore, obviously. But yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The news is super inaccurate. They don't get their facts straight. And they like saying whatever generic BS fits the media control policy. So, oops.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave the order to kill Nasrallah shortly after giving a speech before the UN General Assembly. Before his remarks, dozens of diplomats walked out of the UN General Assembly hall in protest. Today, Hezbollah's deputy leader, Sheikh Naim Qassem, vowed to fight on, saying the group is prepared for a long war in his first speech since Nasrallah was killed.
تعتدي إسرائيل بارتكاب المجازر في كل مناطق لبنان.
Israel is committing massacres in all areas of Lebanon and choosing villages one by one until there is no village or house that does not have traces of Israeli aggression in it. It is attacking civilians, health organizations, all Rizallah scouts, all those who are in the streets, and all those who are staying in their homes, including children, women, and the elderly. These people are not fighting the fighters, but rather are killing and committing massacres against civilians and innocents.
They are. That's what they do. They kill and they blow up buildings and they destroy innocent people's lives, killing people that I have even known. Out of those 1,000 people, there's people that me and my family have known who are now dead, who are laying under the rubble of their home. because Israel's strikes hit them. Why? Because they're looking for Hezbollah. So Hezbollah is a militant group that's all over the country. So let's just shoot the whole country and hit everyone and hit every village and hit the middle of the capital city and hopes that we kill 1 or 2 Hezbollah soldiers. But we might take out 1,000 citizens, just normal citizens walking to work. We might kill them. But who cares, because we got 1 or 2 Hezbollah guys. All you're going to do is create more Hezbollah. Like, you're killing thousands of people. You're going to turn people into freedom fighters. You're going to turn them into resistance fighters. That's literally what you're doing. You're not taking out Hezbollah. You're creating more of them. You're not taking out Hamas. You're creating more of them. You know exactly what you're doing. The same thing you did with every other military group in the Middle East. You purposely pressured on them to make them stronger, to make them resist harder, and then you funded them to go ahead and clear even more destruction over in the Middle East. You use them as like a slingshot almost. But it's not going to work here with Hezbollah. It's not going to work here with Hamas because they don't work for you. They don't work for you. They work against you. And this is going to be very hard for you because they work against you and they work against all those Muslim terrorist groups that you guys created, like Al-Qaeda, Taliban. They work against them, is what they do. So good luck. Good luck. Very much good luck. Going ahead and doing everything that you're trying to do with Lebanon and Gaza and Iran, because there's only a couple Middle Eastern countries left, and this is the final blow. So it's either all in or nothing right here. We're going into an election, financial crisis. There's a lot that's going to be happening here within the next year, and it's getting crazy.
The Islamic resistance will continue to confront the Israeli enemy in support of Gaza and Palestine in defense of Lebanon.
Over the past 24 hours, Israeli strikes in Lebanon have killed at least 105 people, bringing the death toll over the past 2 weeks.
You don't believe me? You think I'm an idiot because you're American and you watch the news? You're not Lebanese, but you want to speak on it? Okay, I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. You and your Zionist friends know what you're talking about. Stand with Israel. Israel is God's chosen people. God will protect them to the end. You can go suck them off, whatever the case may be. But when it comes down to it, right? When it comes down to it, I suggest you speak to someone who's Lebanese or someone who's undergoing things like this. Like, go ahead and talk to someone from Lebanon. Talk to someone who's Lebanese. The internet exists. You can go ahead and speak to someone. Ask them about it. Ask Christians about Hezbollah. Ask the Sunnis about the Shia population. Ask the Shias about the Sunni population. Go ahead. Ask Lebanese people about Lebanon. Ask about how they live together. Ask about how the Muslims and the Christians have been living in Lebanon together perfectly fine for millennia, for centuries, for no problem. Look how in Lebanon, how everything is structured, how Israel's still not in there, how terrorist attacks just don't run free in the middle of Lebanon. It's not like that. So you have a very big misconception of the Middle East. Most people do, because each country is different, completely different, and everything runs in its own way. And everything that's happening is being fed to you by one media source, and that's the Western news. So be very, very careful when you're consuming news. I would honestly take news from the ground. So people who are actually experiencing it, I would take their experiences and use those to form a conclusion yourself. Use your brain that God gave you and blessed you with.
Weeks to over 1,000, with 6,000 people injured. The Israeli attacks have displaced about 1 million people in Lebanon. More than 100,000 have fled from Lebanon to Syria, according to the United Nations. Meanwhile, Israel forces launched a wave of airstrikes on Yemen Sunday, targeting the city of Hud.
So awesome. They've already killed over 1,000 people. So more people than October the 7th. This is the worst day in Lebanon since the Holocaust on Jewish people. This might even be worse. I promise. This might even be worse than the Holocaust on Jewish people. The 1,000 people who died in Lebanon. That's what they say about October the 7th. This is what I'm going to say about Lebanon. 1,000 people died to Israeli strikes over the last week. This is worse than the Holocaust. This is the worst day in Lebanese history. This day marks the day that Netanyahu becomes worse than Hitler. He has committed an atrocity worse than the Holocaust. That's how they talk about October 7th, like the worst day for Jewish people ever happened. Look, you just killed 1,000 people in Lebanon like nothing. You displaced over 1 million people like nothing. You made 100,000 people from Lebanon go to Syria like nothing. Within a week, you destroyed their life, their infrastructure, everything that they were doing. You scared them. Now what? Now what? Because you wanted to kill the Hezbollah leader? Congratulations. All you did is create more resistance. All you did is create more pissed off people. You've done nothing but made the situation worse. So congratulations, Israel, God's chosen people. You're going to get sent back to God very, very soon. You keep acting like this. This is
data for the second time in recent months in response to missile fires by Houthi militants. This comes as more than 1,000 Israelis protested in Tel Aviv on Saturday to call on Prime Minister Netanyahu to refocus his efforts on securing the release of hostages in Gaza, where the death toll from nearly a year of Israeli attacks is nearing at least 42,000. For more, we begin in...
So they've killed over 42,000 people. Israel has killed over 42,000 people. For the 1,000 people who died and the hostages that were taken, they've killed their own hostages so far. They've killed their own people so far. They're fighting Lebanon and Yemen now, bombing in Lebanon and Yemen, and still have not gotten their hostages back from Gaza, which is this big. It's literally a tiny, tiny, tiny little piece of land. They still have not gotten their hostages back to Israel, all of their hostages, and dealt with Hamas. Like, deal with Hamas, bro. Is that not why you're in this whole war, is to eradicate Hamas? Are you going to eradicate Hamas? Or are you going to eradicate Hezbollah? And you're going to eradicate the Houthis? And you're going to eradicate Iran? All at the same time. You're going to do it all at the same time with all 12 of your hands and tentacles, because you're an octopus, right, Israel? You're going to blow up everything in your path and drop billions and billions of dollars more in explosives on people's heads, innocent people, killing people, displacing people. And then what? What's your plan? To create more freedom fighters? More Hezbollah, more Hamas. You want more of it. You want more Houthis. Keep bombing their inner cities.
Beirut to speak with Karim Chahayeb, the Beirut-based journalist reporting on Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq for the Associated Press. His recent piece for AP is headlined, "What to Know After Israel's Assassination of Hezbollah Leader Hassan Nasrallah." Karim, welcome to Democracy Now! Well, why don't you tell us about the significance of this assassination and who exactly the Hezbollah leader was?
So this assassination really rattled all of Lebanon. Hassan Nasrallah for decades led Hezbollah and oversaw significant developments within the militant group. Oversaw, ending Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon, Hezbollah's sort of transformation into having a more heavy involvement in Lebanese politics with MPs, parliamentarians, ministers, and so on. And also led Hezbollah when it began to expand more regionally, notably in Syria, where they played a pivotal role in keeping Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in power. The news really shocked all of Lebanon, both supporters and people who oppose him. I recall I was on the streets here in Beirut when the news happened, and some of his supporters were screaming. They were shocked by the news, and they thought that this was a leader. Some told me that they felt like he was immortal.
So, listen to this, guys. Just think about this for a second. While the United States was funding, with Israel, was funding ISIS, a terrorist group in Syria, while the United States was funding billions of dollars into ISIS. You hear me right? Hezbollah was working with the Syrian government to fight ISIS, as the United States was funding ISIS to fight the Syrian government, Hezbollah. So here we have laterals, right? The United States and Israel call ISIS a terrorist group, but created ISIS and fund ISIS. Hezbollah fights ISIS. So if Hezbollah is enemies to ISIS, and ISIS is funded and created by Israel and the United States, and ISIS is a terrorist group, then what's Hezbollah? And what is Syria? What's the Syrian government? And what is the Israeli government? Who are the terrorists? Because I'm getting confused here. I'm not understanding. if you have groups like Hezbollah fighting ISIS, and you have groups like the United States funding ISIS, who's the terrorist?
Almost. And of course, his assassination on top of a handful of Hezbollah leaders, 7 senior leaders over the past 8 days, really rattled the organization. Even the deputy leader, Naim Qasim, said so today. But he said that they're going to regroup and appoint a new leader soon. It's unclear when. And it's definitely something that rattled the region, for sure.
I want to, if you can respond, Karim, to what the Israeli prime minister said after the assassination, and also...
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Just go ahead and summarize what just happened. Over the last week to 2 weeks here, Israel has been bombarding Lebanon with strikes. Different types of strikes in different types of ways. First, it was by blowing up cell phones, pagers, lithium batteries on people in their pockets, on their chests, wherever their phone might have been, they were exploding. Satellites, other things were exploding as well with lithium batteries in them. After that ended up happening, they decided to start striking many, many villages in South Lebanon, many villages in North Lebanon. They started hitting Beirut. And the death toll is up to 1,000+ people now. They've killed over 1,000 Lebanese people. Christian, Jewish, doesn't matter what you are, atheists, Druze, they're bombing anyone. They've killed the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. And they've sent Lebanon into a spiral now. And it's going to be full retaliation. It's going to be a full-out war at this point. And it's not going to be left alone. And what is happening and what is escalating here at this point corresponds exactly with everything financially on this planet. The interest rates had just come down. The United States is going through an election within the next month. And they're going to economically cripple the world. At the same time, they're going to be going to war and bombing the crap out of millions of human beings in the Middle East, in Europe, in South America. They are going to go full on, and try and take these final countries that oppose them. That may be Lebanon, Yemen, Iran, Venezuela, North Korea. There's countries that oppose the United States that need to go away. And these countries are going to feel the United States push all of its power into these wars and these issues and colonizing and destroying the infrastructure of their enemies here in this economic collapse. Because the whole world uses the US dollar, and when the US dollar collapses, the whole world's screwed. All the industries, all the companies, all the businesses, everyone is screwed. The US dollar is the only dollar you can go to any country on this planet, give them a US dollar, and they'll take it gladly. And that is a big problem, because when the US dollar collapses, the whole world's economy collapses, because everyone relies on the US dollar. Everything is funneled into the US dollar, even though it's not backed by gold. It doesn't run off a gold standard. It is printed and burned as we please. So be very, very, very careful going into the next 24 months, 2 years, to 2026. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect yourself when it comes to your faith, physically, mentally, in every way, shape, or form. Be healthy, and don't feed into the garbage, the BS. There's so much information that runs out on the internet, and it can be very, very confusing. It can be very deceptive. Use your mind, use your brain, put things together yourself. Go ahead and ask people about their situations. Go ahead and ask people who are affected by it. Ask people who are in it. Ask people who live there. And they'll tell you. And then you can go ahead and gather their information that way. But I wouldn't just listen to the Western news. They don't even know what they're talking about. She didn't even know that Hassan Nasrallah is the leader of Hezbollah. She called him the leader of Hamas in Lebanon, who died. So that is a very, very good example right there of just the news not even knowing basic information or being able to get basic information right. And she could have just said it wrong, but this is what the news is. The news is controlled from the top down to report specific information so that everyone hears the same news through 20 different news stations, and everyone believes that that's the truth because it's the only truth that they're being displayed. But trust me, there's a different truth that counters your truth on the opposite end of the world. And you need to be able to hear both sides and understand both sides to really grasp what is actually happening, because neither one is the full truth, and you need both extremes to actually see what is in between. So thank you guys so much for coming today. God bless every single one of you. And until next time, free Palestine and free Lebanon. Bye-bye, baby.